Hello friends, this is Rajdeep. Welcome to Learning Insight for UGC-NET-JRF पेपर 2 सोशल वर्क। डिस्कस करेंगे पॉपुलेशन, सैंपल, सैम्पलिंग, सैम्पलिंग एरर एंड सैम्पलिंग टाइप्स and sampling selection strategy. This is our video number 11, and if you have not seen my earlier videos, then please go to playlist and watch these videos. Definitely you will be benefited because the topic I have chosen in the important materials section that definitely asks in every time in your. Now the what is the concept population, sample, sampling and sample error. So the concept population is a comprehensive group of individual, institution, object having common characteristics that are the interest of a researcher. That means a population that is a comprehensive group of individual or institutions or objects having common similar characteristics that are interested of a researcher. Now what is sample? Representative group of individuals or element from a particular population is called sample. That means the sample is drawn from populations, but it should be representative in nature, then only it called sample. Now what is sampling? Sampling is a process of drawing a representative group of individuals elements from a particular population. That means it's a technique or process through which a representative group of individual or element from a particular population. So it's a process of drawing the representative group of individual or elements from the particular populations. Now what is sampling error? The variation between the means of sample groups as well as the population means is called sampling error. That example, if there is the sample is too small and population is too high, then there will be sampling error. So it's about technically or systematically or scientifically drawing the sample size according with the sample populations. Now what is random sampling techniques? The probability of each element in the population is ensured for being selected as sample unit for the study, that is randomizations. That means the random sampling means a probability sampling, and it's a sampling where every population has given a equal chance of being selected for the study. Now what is non-random sampling techniques? These sampling techniques where the researchers select the sample from the population without randomization, probability is not ensured. That means research is based on the researcher. He will select the population or sample for the study, and there is not any probability. What is the essential of sampling? There is a four essential, most important essentialities for sample. First one is representativeness. A selected sample should be selected in such a way that truly represent the universe. Otherwise, the result obtained may be misleading. That means the sample should be representative of the total populations. That means it truly represent the whole universe. That means the total population. Otherwise, the result may be misleading. And the second one is inadequacy. The size of the sample should be adequate, otherwise it may not be represent the characteristic of the universe. Yes, if the total population size is very high and you are taking as too small sampling, then there is inadequacy will raise. So in that case your result will not be appropriate or correct. Now what is independence? All the items of the sample should be selected independently of one another, and all item of the universe should be the same chance of being selected in the sample. So independency should be there. Now homogeneity means there should be no basic differences in the nature of unit of the universe and that of the sample. That means there should not be any basic differences, rather there should be similarities in nature of unit and universe, so that the sample will be most appropriate. So these are the four essentialities of sampling. That is representativeness, it should be adequacy, it should be independence, and it should be homogeneity. Now next, what is the type of sampling? There are broadly two types of sampling. One is probability sampling, another one is non-probability sampling. So what is probability sampling? Is one in which every unit of population has an equal probability of being selected for the study. The researcher has complete information about the universe of the study. So here the every unit has an equal chance for being selected in the study. Now, non-probability sampling makes no claim of representativeness, as every unit does not get the chance of being selected, as it is the researcher who decide which sample unit should be chosen. It is applied in the research situation where there is no list of person to be studied. That means in non-probability sampling there is no claim for representativeness or chance of everyone to be selected in this study. Rather, it is depend on the researcher who will decide who will be selected for his study. So it's completely depend on the researcher. There is no probability of being selected everyone for the study. Now this is very important slide, because in many time in your NET-JRF exam they ask which technique is fall under which probability sampling. There is probability sampling or non-probability sampling. So in probability sampling there are four techniques mainly. There is simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, then cluster random sampling. And multi-stage sampling is the inclusion of two or more sampling stage. Normally it is the extension of cluster sampling. Now non-probability sampling include quota sampling, purposive sampling, and again purposive sampling, extreme case purposive, another is heterogeneous purposives, then another is homogeneous purposive, then critical case purposives, and then typical case purposes. Now again the non-probability sampling has volunteer, there is snowball and self selections, and haphazard, that is last one, convenience. Next slide. Type and methods of sampling. There are two methods of sampling we already discussed, probability and non-probability. Under the probability there is simple random, stratified. Again stratified has proportional stratified random sampling, disproportional stratified random sampling, then cluster sampling. And non-probability has accidental sampling, quota sampling, snowball, and purposive. These are the broadly accepted in all your research methodology books. So we'll discuss the selection strategy also. Okay, probability sampling technique, that simple random select. The selection strategy is select from a full list of the population, that is population sampling frame. Can use a random number table to do this. So what you have to do, you have to just select the full list of population, that is called sampling frame, and then from the sampling frame you can use a random number table to do this. Okay, then systematic sampling starts at random at a point on the sampling frame and choose every 10th case or some other frequency depending on sampling frame size. So in that case what you have to do, you have to start with a random at a point of sampling frame and every 10th class case or some other frequency depending on sampling frame size. So it's depend on you what the systematic procedures you want to follow. Now stratified random sampling is sampling frame stratified. For example, is stratified in the terms of class, race, sex, then random sampling you can done. So what you have to do in stratified, you have to stratify the sample on the basis of class, race, or sex. Now cluster sampling, class population divided into units or cluster, each containing individual in the range of circumstances. For example, different type of young offender institution could be sampled. So cluster sampling, what you have to do, first you have to divide into units or cluster, and from the each unit or cluster you have to a range of circumstances. For example, that we already discussed, the different type of young offender institution could be sampled. Now what is multi-stage sampling? In multi-stage sampling we have to follow these procedures, that is it's just an extension of cluster sampling in which sample are drawn from within cluster. For example, sampling by age, sex, ethnicity from within young offender institutions identified through cluster sampling. So it's just a extension of cluster sampling. within the cluster sampling, you have to sampling by age, sex and ethnicity from the young offender that we have already selected in the cluster sampling process. Now next, that is non-probability sampling technique. First one, this accidental sampling refers to a method of selecting respondent who happen to meet the researcher and are willing to be interviewed. Thus, a researcher may take the first 100 people to meet who are willing to be interviewed. So, in accidental sampling is a method of selecting respondent who happen to meet the researcher and willing to give interview, and thus the researcher take first 100 to meet and who are willing to give interview. Now, what is quota sampling? Quota sampling ensures inclusion of diverse elements of the population in the sample and make sure that these diverse elements take account of the proportion in which they occur the populations. So it includes the diverse element of populations and make sure the diverse elements that account of the proportions. Now, what is snowball sampling? In snowball sampling is a particularly appropriate when the population are interested in the hidden or hard to reach. So this technique is used where the population is hard to reach or there is a confidential matter normally. These include populations such as drug addicts, homeless people, individual with HIV/AIDS, prostitute and so forth. In snowball sampling, we start with a few respondents of the types we wish to include in our study and who in turn are expected to guide us to get more respondents and so on. So in snowball sampling, what we do, we start the research respondent from a few, and these few respondent will guide us to get more respondent and so on. So this is one of the most a twist technique in research also, that respondent will guide us to get more respondent. Now, what is purposive sampling? Is based on the presumptions that with good judgment one can select the sample unit that are satisfactory in relation to one's requirement. That means in purposive sampling, that is based on the researcher judgment, and his judgment is good judgment consider, and that consider that the sample unit he has chosen is satisfactory for his or her requirement of the study. So it is the depend on the researcher and his judgment who will be the respondent or who will be the sample unit for his study, because he feels that this respondent will give more satisfactory result in terms of his requirement. This is all about, and thank you. I hopefully you like the videos, and if yes, please do like, share, comment and subscribe. Please subscribe for get more videos, and you can join my Telegram channel for all videos, test paper, tips and suggestions. You can join my Google Classroom for study materials. Join Facebook page for learning inside UGC-NET-JRF. Thank you. Thanks for watching.